Good evening, my friends. Tonight, I want to speak to you about desire, not as the world understands it, not as hunger or dissatisfaction, but as a signal of expansion moving through consciousness. Because desire is not proof that something is missing. Desire is proof that something is seeking expression through you. Most people have been taught to distrust desire. They are told that desire creates suffering. That wanting more means being ungrateful. That holiness lies in suppression. But this is not the teaching of Scripture, and it is not the law of consciousness. Desire does not come from lack. Lack comes from misunderstanding desire. Desire is not asking for permission. Desire is announcing capacity. When Scripture says, "Delight thyself also in the Lord, and he shall give thee the desires of thine heart," it is not encouraging indulgence. It is revealing structure. The heart does not desire what consciousness cannot sustain. The heart desires what is already possible within identity. So when you desire more peace, more freedom, more abundance, more love, you are not being greedy. You are responding to an invitation to rise in state. Desire is not the problem. Remaining in the state that cannot hold the desire is. This is where most people falter. They desire more, but they continue to identify as less. And identity always overrides desire. You do not get what you want. You get what you are aligned to receive. So the teaching is not to eliminate desire, but to become congruent with it. This is why desire feels uncomfortable when resisted. It stretches identity. Stretching feels like tension only when resisted. When accepted, it feels like growth. So let us be clear. If you desire more, you will get more, but not by chasing the object of desire. You get more by becoming more inwardly. Desire is not a request to the universe. It is a directive to consciousness. It says, expand here, and expansion always begins within. This is why Jesus never condemned desire. He redirected it. Seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all these things shall be added. The kingdom is not a place. It is a state of being. When the state expands, the expression multiplies naturally. This is why Scripture says, to him that hath shall be given more. This has been misunderstood for centuries. It does not mean the rich get richer by chance. It means capacity attracts increase. Hath does not mean possession. It means conscious occupancy. To have peace is to live from peace. To have abundance is to think from sufficiency. To have love is to act from worthiness. And when you live from a state, that state reproduces itself. So if you desire more, do not suppress it. Listen. Ask what that desire is calling you to release. Often, desire is not asking you to add something. It is asking you to let go of a smaller self. You desire more freedom because you are tired of thinking small. You desire more abundance because you are ready to stop identifying with limitation. You desire deeper love because you no longer accept emotional confinement. Desire is consciousness announcing its next level. And consciousness always grows by assumption. This is why imagination is central to fulfillment. You do not imagine to get more. You imagine to be more. You imagine yourself as the one for whom more is natural. Not exciting, not dramatic. Natural. The subconscious does not respond to excitement. It responds to normalcy. So when you desire more, you do not fantasize extravagantly. You quietly accept the feeling of enoughness. Enoughness is the doorway to increase. When you feel enough, you stop grasping. When you stop grasping, you stop repelling. Grasping creates tension. Tension blocks flow. Flow increases naturally. This is why those who relax into abundance often receive more. Not because they stop desiring, but because they stop needing. Neediness collapses desire into lack. Acceptance expands desire into fulfillment. So when desire arises, do not ask, how can I get this? Ask instead, what state would make this normal? Then you rest there. Rest is not waiting. Rest is settlement. When the inner state settles, the outer world adjusts. This is not philosophy. This is structure. Neuroscience shows us that the brain reorganizes itself around repeated states of identity. Scripture told us the same thing when it said, be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. Mind here is not thought. It is assumption. Assumption creates identity. Identity creates behavior. Behavior creates experience. So desire is simply the first movement. The fulfillment comes through alignment. This is why many people desire more, affirm more, visualize more, and still feel stuck. They are adding desire without updating identity. Identity must rise to meet desire, and identity rises through acceptance, not force. You accept yourself as one who is allowed to have more. Allowed is the key word. Most limitation is permission withheld from the self. You were taught to wait, to earn, to justify. But consciousness does not respond to justification. It responds to authorization. When you authorize yourself inwardly, life reflects it outwardly. So tonight, let desire be honored, not indulged, honored. Let it show you where you are ready to expand. Do not rush to satisfy it. Rush dissolves clarity. Sit with it. Feel what it would be like if more were already present, not emotionally, structurally. How would you breathe? How would you walk? What would you stop worrying about? These subtle shifts are where more begins. More does not arrive loudly. It arrives normally. This is why increase often feels anticlimactic. You look at it and say, of course, because you already accepted it inwardly. This is the law of increase. It does not surprise identity. It confirms it. So if you desire more, do not doubt yourself. Desire is not temptation. It is revelation. It reveals what consciousness is ready to hold. And when consciousness expands, expression follows inevitably. This is why desire never goes away. It only changes form. Once one level is integrated, desire points to the next. This is growth, not greed, not dissatisfaction. Growth, and growth is divine. So allow yourself to grow. Allow yourself to want more peace. By releasing old fears, allow yourself to want more abundance. By releasing old limits, allow yourself to want more love. By releasing old self-judgments. Each release makes room. Room invites filling. This is the rhythm of life. So be still now, not because desire has ended, but because it has been understood. Desire does not demand effort. It asks for alignment. And alignment always delivers. If you desire more, you will get more. Not because you begged for it, but because you became the one for whom more was natural. Rest here. The increase is already unfolding. And as you stay with this understanding, desire begins to feel different in your body. It no longer feels sharp. It no longer feels urgent. It no longer feels like something pulling you forward. It feels directional. Direction without pressure is one of the clearest signs that desire has been purified. Purified desire does not agitate the mind. It steadies it. You notice that when desire arises now, it does not disturb your peace. It deepens it. Because peace is no longer something you fear losing. Peace has become your baseline. This is why desire and contentment are no longer opposites for you. The world taught you that wanting more meant being dissatisfied with what is. But consciousness knows a deeper truth. You can be deeply content and still be expanding. Contentment is not stagnation. It is stability. And stability is what allows growth to happen without collapse. This is why trees grow upward only because their roots are settled downward. Your inner root has settled. So now, when you desire more, you are not trying to escape your life. You are enriching it. Enrichment does not rush. It integrates. You feel this integration when you stop comparing timelines, when you stop watching others, when you stop measuring progress by external markers. Comparison was the habit of a divided identity. Now identity feels whole, and wholeness attracts increase naturally. This is why you may notice that opportunities begin to appear quietly, not as miracles, not as dramatic breakthroughs, but as fit. Something fits your life better. A conversation aligns. A possibility feels obvious. Obvious does not mean small. Obvious means appropriate. Appropriateness is how more enters without resistance. This is why increase often feels calm. Calm is the sign that your nervous system recognizes safety, and safety is required for receiving. You cannot receive what you feel unsafe to hold. This is why identity must expand before circumstances do. Circumstances are always late. Identity is always first. So now, when you think of more, you do not feel pressure to act immediately. You feel trust that action will come when it belongs. Belonging is the key. Nothing that truly belongs to you will require force. Force belongs to misalignment. Alignment invites cooperation. So you cooperate now by remaining in a state of allowance. Allowance does not mean passivity. It means you are no longer blocking the flow with doubt. Doubt was the only thing that made desire painful. Without doubt, desire feels like permission. Permission to become, permission to grow, permission to receive without apology. This is why the teaching says, open thy mouth wide and I will fill it. Opening is not asking loudly. Opening is removing restraint. Restraint was learned. You learn to limit yourself to stay safe, to stay accepted, to stay predictable. But consciousness does not grow by staying small. It grows by trusting expansion. And trust is now present. So let desire do what it was always meant to do. Let it guide, not disturb. Let it point, not pull. Let it invite you into a larger version of yourself that already exists and is ready to be occupied. You do not chase that version. You step into it. Stepping into it feels natural now. And as you do, more begins to feel inevitable. Not because you want it desperately, but because you are no longer resisting it. This is how increase becomes lawful. This is how more arrives without strain. This is how desire fulfills itself, by transforming the one who holds it. Remain here. Desire is no longer asking you to hurry. It is simply asking you to stay open. And openness always leads to more. And as you remain open in this way, something even more refined begins to take shape within you. Desire no longer feels personal. It no longer feels like your craving or your ambition. It feels impersonal, almost sacred. You begin to sense that desire is not originating from the small self at all, but from a deeper intelligence moving life forward through you. This is why the Bible speaks of God as the one who worketh in you both to will and to will desire, to do expression. Desire is not random. It is not accidental. It is not a flaw to be corrected. It is guidance. When you understand this, desire loses its emotional charge and gains clarity. You no longer ask, should I want this? You ask, what is this desire asking me to become? Becoming is the real fulfillment. Objects change, conditions evolve, but becoming transforms the entire field of experience. So when you desire more now, you instinctively turn inward, not to suppress it, but to listen. You listen for the state that desire implies. If you desire more peace, you notice where you are still rehearsing tension. If you desire more abundance, you notice where you are still thinking defensively. If you desire more love, you notice where you are still withholding yourself. And gently, without judgment, you release what no longer fits. Release is not sacrifice. It is alignment. Alignment is how desire completes itself. This is why effort feels unnecessary now. Effort was needed when you thought you had to force life to give. Now you see that life gives automatically. When the inner space is ready, ready does not mean perfect. It means available. Availability is the quiet openness that says, I am no longer resisting expansion. And resistance was the only barrier. So as resistance dissolves, more does not rush in chaotically. It flows in intelligently. Flow respects rhythm. Flow respects integration. This is why your life begins to feel more spacious. Even before external changes fully appear, space is the first sign of increase. More space in the mind, more space in the breath, more space in your reactions. Space allows life to rearrange itself. Crowded consciousness blocks growth. Spacious consciousness invites it. So you give yourself permission to be spacious. You stop filling silence with worry. You stop filling pauses with doubt. You stop filling time with anticipation. Anticipation collapses presence. Presence expands capacity. Capacity is what desire was pointing to all along. This is why you no longer cling to outcomes. Clinging assumes scarcity. You no longer assume scarcity. You assume continuity. Continuity of life. Continuity of growth. Continuity of provision. Provision is not something you chase. It is something that follows alignment. So you move through your days with a different posture now. Not hopeful, not resigned. Grounded. Grounded in the quiet certainty that desire is trustworthy when it is met with awareness. And because of this, you notice something profound. Even when more has not yet appeared visibly, you feel no frustration. Frustration belonged to the belief that life owed you proof. You no longer need proof. You recognize the pattern. State first, form second, always. So you honor desire by becoming its answer, and as you do, more unfolds naturally, not as reward, not as surprise, but as confirmation. Remain here. Desire has done its work. It has guided you back to alignment, and alignment, once established, never stops producing more. And as alignment continues to express itself, a final refinement takes place, quiet, almost imperceptible, yet decisive. Desire no longer feels like a signal pointing forward. It feels like a current you are already moving with. There is no gap between wanting and being, no space between intention and identity. This is where desire completes its journey. You notice now that you are no longer motivated by comparison. Someone else's expansion does not diminish yours. Someone else's success does not delay your own, because you are no longer measuring life horizontally. You are moving vertically from depth to depth, from clarity to clarity. This is why jealousy fades. This is why impatience dissolves. These emotions belong to the belief that life was limited. But consciousness is not limited. It is cumulative. What expands in one place confirms expansion everywhere. So when you desire more now, it is not from fear of missing out. It is from resonance. Resonance says, this belongs to the next version of me. And the next version of you is not in the future. It is accessed by state, not time. So you step into it gently, not announcing change, not forcing habits, not performing transformation, simply being slightly differently, thinking with more generosity, responding with more patience, expecting with more ease. These shifts may appear small to the outer mind, but they are immense to the law, because the law responds to identity, not effort. And identity is shaped by what feels normal. You have allowed more to feel normal. That is the turning point. This is why you begin to notice that life mirrors your openness back to you. People respond more warmly. Circumstances soften. Opportunities seem to recognize you, not because you demanded more, but because you stopped blocking it. Blocking was never conscious. It was learned. You learned to brace, to limit, to expect disappointment. But expectation shapes reception. Now expectation has relaxed into trust. Trust is the most fertile soil for increase. This is why Scripture says, he that is faithful in little shall be faithful in much. Faithful does not mean obedient. It means consistent in state. You are consistent now, not rigid, but steady. Steady enough that desire no longer destabilizes you. Steady enough that more can arrive without disrupting your peace. And peace is the true measure of readiness. What arrives without peace overwhelms. What arrives with peace integrates. So more is integrating now, quietly, gradually, inevitably. You may not be able to point to a single moment where it all changed, because real change rarely announces itself. It settles. And once settled, it continues. This is the gift of understanding desire correctly. It no longer rules you. It guides you. It no longer agitates. It aligns, and alignment is endlessly productive. So let this be enough for now. Not because growth has ended, but because it has become self-sustaining. You do not need to chase more. More follows alignment, the way fruit follows season. In its time, in its order, without strain. Remain open. Remain grounded. Remain faithful to the state that has already expanded, and life will continue to answer you, not with effort, not with delay, but with increase that feels natural, rightful, and whole. Because if you desire more, and you meet that desire with awareness, you will always receive more. This is the law, and it is already at work within you. And as this state continues to mature within you, something subtle but powerful becomes evident. You stop seeking permission to have more, not from people, not from circumstances, not even from your past. Permission was the final barrier. You had been waiting for a signal that it was acceptable to expand, a sign, an achievement, a moment when doubt would disappear completely. But now you see that doubt was never the gatekeeper. You were. And quietly, without ceremony, you have stepped aside. This is why desire now feels clean. Clean desire does not bargain. It does not justify itself. It does not explain. It simply moves you into congruence. Congruence is when your inner posture matches what you desire. And when posture matches desire, reality has no conflict to resolve. This is why life begins to respond with less friction. You notice fewer internal negotiations before acting, fewer emotional spikes when things unfold differently than expected, fewer moments of self-correction. Correction belonged to the belief that something was wrong. Now, nothing feels wrong, only in process. Process is no longer threatening when identity is stable. So even when desire points towards something not yet visible, you do not tense. You understand sequence. You understand that form follows state, and state is already established. This is why waiting no longer feels like waiting. It feels like trust in motion, motion without anxiety, motion without urgency, motion without self-surveillance. You are not watching yourself grow anymore. You are growing, and growth that is not watched accelerates naturally. This is why the law responds faster now. Not because you learned a new technique, but because you stopped interrupting the old one. The law has always worked this way. It responds to identity, not intensity. Intensity burns quickly. Identity sustains. You have chosen sustainability. So now, when desire surfaces again, as it always will, you do not brace. You welcome it like a familiar guide, not because it promises immediate reward, but because it signals continued alignment. Alignment does not peak. It deepens. Each level of more simply reveals a broader capacity to receive. And you are no longer afraid of capacity. You trust yourself with more now, more responsibility, more visibility, more ease, more life. Trusting yourself is the final initiation, because life will never give you more than you trust yourself to hold. And now you do. So remain steady. Do not rush this knowing. Do not finalize it prematurely. Let it keep unfolding in ordinary moments. In how you listen, in how you decide, in how you allow things to resolve without interference. This is where the teaching becomes lived, not spoken, not repeated. Lived, and from here, increase no longer needs explanation. It will simply continue quietly, lawfully, faithfully, meeting you at the level you have already accepted as natural. Stay here. More is no longer ahead of you. It is moving with you. And as more continues to move with you, even the idea of arrival begins to dissolve. You no longer think in terms of when I get there. There is no there to get to. There is only here expanding. This is the most misunderstood truth about growth. It does not culminate. It unfolds. And unfolding does not rush toward a finish line. It deepens its own expression. You feel this now in how your sense of self has softened. You are no longer rigid about who you must be. You are no longer defending an image. You are no longer proving your worth to life. Proof was demanded only when worth was uncertain. Uncertainty has left, so you move with a gentler authority. Authority that does not announce itself. Authority that does not dominate. Authority that simply stands. Standing is enough. When you stand in your own legitimacy, desire no longer feels risky. It feels safe to want more. It feels safe to receive more. It feels safe to live more fully. Safety is the condition that allows expansion without collapse. This is why the nervous system matters in this teaching. This is why peace always precedes manifestation. A body that feels safe can receive. A mind that feels safe can imagine clearly. An identity that feels safe can expand without fear. You have created safety by no longer arguing with your own becoming. That argument was exhausting, and now it has ended. So life responds differently. Not with urgency, not with pressure, but with cooperation. You notice that even challenges feel different now. They no longer feel like obstacles to desire. They feel like refinements of state. Refinements do not threaten growth. They stabilize it. You adjust without panic. You adapt without self-judgment. You learn without shame. Shame was the last echo of the belief that you were unworthy of more. That belief has faded, and in its place, there is a quiet confidence. I can hold this. This confidence is not bravado. It is familiarity. You have become familiar with expansion. So when more arrives, as it always does, you are not surprised. You integrate it. Integration is the true sign of readiness. What you integrate becomes part of your normal life. What becomes normal multiplies. This is the law working gently, relentlessly, faithfully. So do not look for a final moment where desire disappears. Desire will remain, but it will no longer disturb you. It will simply guide you into deeper coherence. And coherence is endlessly productive. Remain in this ease. Not because effort is wrong, but because effort is no longer needed. You are not chasing more. You are allowing life to keep up with who you have become. And life will keep up. It always does. Because when desire is met with awareness, when awareness stabilizes identity, and when identity welcomes expansion, increase becomes inevitable. Stay here. This is not the peak. This is the rhythm. And the rhythm continues. And as this rhythm continues, you no longer wonder whether it will last. You sense, quietly and without debate, that this is not a phase. It is a foundation. Phases depend on emotion. Foundations depend on truth. And truth does not fluctuate. You feel it now in how steady you are, even when circumstances shift, even when answers are not immediate, even when life rearranges itself in unfamiliar ways. Unfamiliar no longer means unsafe. You have learned the deeper lesson that expansion does not require certainty of outcome, only certainty of self. Self here is not personality. It is presence. Presence that does not abandon itself under pressure. Presence that does not shrink when challenged. Presence that does not withdraw when more is asked of it. This presence is what allows desire to keep flowing without becoming strained. So when life asks you to step forward, you do. When it asks you to pause, you do. Neither feels like loss because you are no longer trying to extract proof from every moment. Proof was demanded when trust was missing. Trust is now complete. This is why you no longer dramatize your path. You do not announce growth. You do not label progress. You do not rehearse your future. You live. Living is the most efficient expression of alignment. And alignment keeps producing more. Not in bursts, not in cycles of hope and disappointment, but as a continuum. This is the continuum of becoming. Becoming is not stressful now. It is familiar. You recognize its texture, its pace, its quiet confidence. So even when desire arises again, as it will, you meet it with maturity. Not indulgence, not resistance. Understanding. You understand that desire is simply life saying, there is room to grow here. And you respond by making room. Room in thought, room in expectation, room in identity. Room is the invitation life has always been waiting for. And once room exists, filling is inevitable. So let this be enough, not as an ending, but as a steady ground you return to. You do not need to remember every word. You do not need to repeat anything. You have already absorbed the essential truth. More does not come because you chase it. More comes because you no longer refuse it. And refusal has ended. Remain here. Life is already responding, not loudly, not dramatically, but faithfully, meeting you again and again at the level you have accepted as natural. This is how increase becomes permanent. This is how desire becomes fulfillment. This is how more continues to unfold, without effort, without fear, without end. And now, let this come to rest where it belongs, not as a conclusion, but as a settling. Nothing needs to be added. Nothing needs to be reached. Nothing needs to be proven. You are no longer standing at the edge of more, wondering if it will arrive. You are standing inside the state that allows more to continue. This is the quiet fulfillment the world rarely teaches. Not the fulfillment of getting, but the fulfillment of becoming aligned. From this place, life no longer feels like a test. It feels like a conversation, responsive, intelligent, fair. You trust yourself now in ways that cannot be undone. You trust your desires. You trust your pace. You trust your unfolding. And because you trust yourself, life entrusts you with more. Not suddenly, not violently, but faithfully. More clarity, more ease, more depth, more room to breathe, to choose, to live without contraction. This is how increase becomes permanent, not by chasing expansion, but by no longer shrinking. So let tomorrow come without expectation. Let opportunity arrive without inspection. Let growth continue without commentary. You do not need to hold the state tightly. It holds itself. You do not need to remember this teaching. You are living it. And from here, whatever you desire next will not feel like a struggle to obtain. It will feel like the next natural step for the one you have already become. Be still now, not because nothing is happening, but because everything essential already has. Life knows where to meet you, and it will continue to do so again and again at the level you have accepted as true. This is not the end. This is the rhythm. And the rhythm carries on in the beginning, before the sun first rose over the earth, before a single atom found its place in the universe. There was only the word consciousness speaking itself into existence. Let there be light, God said. And from that vibration, from that sound of divine certainty, creation began. Every galaxy, every star, every breath you take is still an echo of that first utterance. This is the mystery the world has forgotten, that speech is not merely communication, it is creation. What you say to yourself, morning by morning, moment by moment, becomes flesh. Every word you declare in faith is an instruction to the invisible field from which all form arises. The tongue, Scripture says, has the power of life and death, Proverbs 18:21. This is not metaphor, it is law. The frequency of your words harmonizes with the unseen substance of creation itself. Speak from fear, and you animate fear. Speak from faith, and you breathe life into miracles. So before the noise of the world touches your mind, before the opinions of others have the chance to write upon your consciousness, you must speak life over yourself, not as empty affirmation, not as wishful thinking, but as divine decree. For as you speak, so you become. Every morning before the day begins, speak these 5 lines, not to convince yourself of something new, but to remember what has always been true. Speak them slowly, not as a mantra of repetition, but as a revelation of identity. Line 1, I am one with God, and God is one with me. This is the foundation. All creation begins here. When you say these words, you are not speaking to the air. You are awakening the eternal truth within. There is no separation between creator and creation, between cause and effect, between the unseen and the seen. You are the living extension of divine imagination. When Christ said, I and my Father are one, John 10:30, he was not speaking of a relationship exclusive to himself. He was revealing the pattern for every soul that would awaken to its origin. You are not a visitor in God's universe. You are a participant in his consciousness. And so, as you rise in the morning, declare this truth. I am one with God, and God is one with me. Feel it not as concept, but as communion. Let it move through your body until every cell remembers. You are not small. You are not forgotten. You are the temple in which the infinite dwells. From this knowing, all creation flows effortlessly. You no longer chase life. Life flows through you. You no longer beg for answers. Answers rise from within you. You are not waiting for power. You are awakening to it. Line 2. Everything I desire is already mine in consciousness. The unawakened mind believes manifestation is about getting. But the awakened soul knows it is about receiving what has already been given. The law of life is eternal completion. What you call your future is not something to create, but something to unveil. Science confirms what Scripture revealed. Time is not linear. It is layered. Every potential exists simultaneously, waiting for your consciousness to align with it. When you imagine with feeling, when you believe without contradiction, you are tuning the instrument of your mind to the frequency of what already is. Before you call, I will answer, and while you are yet speaking, I will hear. Isaiah 65:24. These words are not poetic, they are literal. Your answered prayer exists the moment you conceive it in consciousness. You are not waiting for God to move. You are allowing yourself to move into awareness of what God already finished. So when you speak the second line, everything I desire is already mine in consciousness, you are aligning with divine law. You are declaring, it is finished. You are no longer the beggar at the gate of blessing. You are the heir of the kingdom. Do not say it with tension. Do not grasp for proof. Feel it as fact. The moment you accept it inwardly, the outer world must rearrange to reflect it. The atom, the circumstance, the encounter, all conspire to mirror your state of belief. The universe is not outside of you. It is your consciousness projected. Line 3. I am guided, guarded, and supplied by divine intelligence. The world teaches you to rely on effort, to calculate every move, to live by logic alone. But divine law operates from wisdom beyond analysis. There is an intelligence that governs every cell, every star, every breath, and that same intelligence governs your path. When you declare this line each morning, you release the burden of control. You enter the flow of grace, where everything you need comes without strain. You begin to trust that your steps are ordered, that the unseen knows the way when you do not. Think of the birds of the air, the lilies of the field. They neither toil nor worry, yet they are sustained. Matthew 6:26-28. The same life that sustains them sustains you. Divine guidance is not rare. It is constant. You have only to listen. Speak this line with quiet authority. I am guided, guarded, and supplied by divine intelligence. Let it become your posture toward life. You will begin to notice synchronicities, inner nudges, unexpected provisions. Doors you once knocked upon will open without force. This is not luck, it is law. To walk with divine intelligence is to walk with certainty. You will no longer ask, how will it happen? Because you know the same God who imagined the universe is imagining your success right now. Line 4. I radiate love, peace, and power wherever I go. Your consciousness is not a container, it is a transmitter. Every emotion, every thought, every word you carry sends a signal into the field of creation, and that signal draws its likeness back to you. If you emit fear, fear returns. If you radiate love, love multiplies. You are not at the mercy of the energy around you. You are its master. The atmosphere of your life changes when you choose to radiate rather than react. You begin to realize that the world is not happening to you, but through you. Love is not weakness. It is divine voltage. It is the most powerful frequency in existence because it is the essence of God Himself. When you say, I radiate love, peace, and power wherever I go, you are not asking to receive love, you are becoming it. And what you become must be reflected. This fourth line transforms your relationships, your career, your environment. People will begin to feel your presence before you speak. Opportunities will seek you out because consciousness communicates before words ever do. Peace is not the absence of conflict. It is the mastery of perception. To radiate peace is to be unbothered by appearances, knowing that the outer world cannot disturb the inner sanctuary. Power, when purified by love, becomes authority. It is the quiet strength that needs no validation. It is the confidence of one who knows that heaven moves through them. Each morning, as you speak this line, feel the vibration expanding through your chest. Let it fill the room. Imagine your very aura glowing with light, extending beyond your body, blessing every soul you meet that day. You are the light of the world, and when light radiates, darkness dissolves. Line 5. I walk today as my higher self, calm, confident, and complete. This final line is not a hope. It is an embodiment. You are calling yourself out of memory and into mastery. Every morning, you must choose to rise from the identity of the old man and walk in the awareness of the new. Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. Romans 12:2. Transformation is not waiting on circumstances. It begins in consciousness. When you identify with your higher self, your lower habits must fall away. Say it aloud, slowly, deliberately. I walk today as my highest self, calm, confident, and complete. Let each word become an instruction to your subconscious. Calm because you trust the process. Confident because you know who walks with you. Complete because nothing outside of you can add or subtract from your wholeness. The highest self is not distant, it is the real you, the divine image unclouded by fear. The moment you speak these words with conviction, that self awakens. It begins to express through your tone, your posture, your decisions. You no longer move from reaction, but from revelation. And as you go through the day, this consciousness will not waver. Challenges will come, but they will meet a new you, the one who no longer trembles before circumstance, but commands it through faith. You have now spoken the 5 lines of creation, 5 keys to aligning with divine law, 5 frequencies that rewrite your reality. But understand this, these words are not magic in themselves. Their power lies in the consciousness from which you speak them. If you speak them as mere affirmation, they remain sound. But if you speak them from awareness, they become substance. Words spoken in faith are not echoes, they are causes. Each morning, when you rise, do not rush. Before you reach for your phone, before the world begins to pull you into its noise, step into the silence of your being. Stand before the mirror. not to inspect the face of flesh, but to recognize the face of God. Speak these 5 lines as one who commands reality, not one who pleads for it. And then remain silent for a moment. Feel the echo of those words vibrating through your body, sealing themselves into your subconscious. Do not analyze them. Let them become you. As you walk out into the day, you will notice something subtle yet profound. The atmosphere around you will respond differently. Conversations will shift. Situations that once drained you will now bend in your favor. Opportunities will appear where there were none. This is not coincidence, it is correspondence. The universe always reflects the consciousness that observes it. When you begin your day as the creator, the day must obey the creator's command. Every morning, these 5 lines are not ritual. They are resurrection. They resurrect the truth buried beneath doubt. They awaken the Christ within you who declares, "All power is given unto me in heaven and in earth." Matthew 28:18. And as you live from that awareness, you begin to see miracles, not as exceptions, but as the natural rhythm of divine law. Your thoughts become aligned, your emotions steady, your words few but full of power. You will find yourself speaking less and manifesting more. You will discover that creation is not effort, it is alignment. That life is not about striving, it is about remembering. That you were never waiting for blessings, you were the blessing waiting to awaken. So tomorrow morning, when the first light touches your face, rise in stillness. Feel the sacredness of the new day. And before the mind remembers yesterday's worries, before the world demands your attention, speak. I am one with God, and God is one with me. Everything I desire is already mine in consciousness. I am guided, guarded, and supplied by divine intelligence. I radiate love, peace, and power wherever I go. I walk today as my highest self, calm, confident, and complete. Let those words become your first breath, your first movement, your first awareness. And as you do, watch how life begins to bow before the authority of your belief. Watch how what once seemed impossible begins to unfold, naturally, gracefully, inevitably. For creation has always waited, not for your struggle, but for your stillness, not for your noise, but for your knowing. These 5 lines are not magic, they are remembrance. They are your daily return to divine consciousness. And when you live from that state, when you speak from that power, you will find that you no longer chase miracles because you have become one. Be still, speak with authority, believe every word, and watch as heaven itself echoes back your declaration. It is done. And when you live like this, when each dawn becomes an altar, and each word becomes a seed, life transforms into a sacred dialogue between you and the infinite. You no longer begin your days reacting to the world. You begin by commanding it through faith. You no longer look to circumstances for permission to believe. You let belief give birth to new circumstances. Morning by morning, these lines are no longer something you speak to yourself. They become something you speak as yourself. The gap between prayer and manifestation closes because the distance between you and God disappears. Your voice no longer trembles with uncertainty. It vibrates with creation. You do not say them with effort, but with ease like the sun rising, effortless yet unstoppable. And soon you will notice it, that quiet authority that follows you into every room. You won't have to announce who you are. The atmosphere will know. You won't have to prove your worth. Opportunities will feel your presence and bow in recognition. For when you speak truth from divine consciousness, the whole universe responds as one body to one command. People will call it luck, timing, even coincidence, but you will know. You will know it is law. You will know that words spoken from oneness cannot return void. You will know that the 5 lines you speak each morning are not affirmations. They are decrees spoken from the throne of awareness. And as the days pass, your inner dialogue will change. You will catch yourself throughout the day speaking the same truth unconsciously. I am guided. I am supplied. I am loved. I am whole. And as those words take root, everything not in harmony with them will begin to dissolve. The doubts that once shouted so loudly will lose their voice. The fears that once haunted your mornings will fade into silence. The need to strive, to chase, to convince will vanish because truth does not strive. Truth simply is. You will wake each morning with a deeper calm, a richer gratitude, and a subtle, radiant confidence that cannot be explained. Because something will have shifted, you will no longer live from the outside in, but from the inside out. Every great master of manifestation, from the prophets of Scripture to the enlightened teachers of every age, lived by this principle. Speak from the end. Speak as though it is done. And when you do, you align your mind with the creative pattern of God Himself. For God did not say, "Let there be light," and then wait in fear. He said it and knew it was so. And the universe had no choice but to respond. When you speak your 5 lines each morning, you are echoing that same creative authority. You are saying, "Let there be peace in my mind. Let there be abundance in my path. Let there be love in my relationships. Let there be purpose in my life." And creation, obedient to your inner word, begins to rearrange itself to make it so. Do not measure results by what you see in the moment. The farmer does not question the soil the day after planting. He waters in faith, knowing that life unfolds invisibly before it appears visibly. Your words too are seeds, and their fruit will ripen in divine timing, not when you demand, but when you know. Every morning you speak, you are building invisible architecture. You are constructing bridges across unseen worlds. You are shaping the energy that will one day crystallize into the form of your destiny. And so, as you continue this practice, you will begin to feel the presence of something greater flowing through you, a presence that needs no proof, no explanation, no defense. It is the Spirit of God, remembering itself as you. The very act of speaking these 5 lines is an act of remembrance, the remembrance of who you are and what you carry. You are not repeating words to become powerful. You are proclaiming power that has always been yours. You are awakening divine memory. One day, you will look back on the version of yourself that once spoke these lines with trembling lips, the one who needed to remind themselves of their worth, and you will smile, because you will have become the living embodiment of every word you once spoke in faith. You will no longer say, "I am one with God," because you will feel it in every breath. You will no longer say, "Everything I desire is already mine," because you will see it manifesting effortlessly. You will no longer say, "I am guided, guarded, and supplied," because every moment will reveal divine orchestration. You will no longer say, "I radiate love, peace, and power," because it will be written on your face and felt in your presence. You will no longer say, "I walk as my highest self," because there will be no lower self left to remember. These 5 lines are a ladder, and once climbed, they become who you are. You merge with them until the one who speaks and the words spoken are one and the same. And this, beloved, is the secret of creation, that the word becomes flesh through you, that God imagines and you embody, that the voice that spoke the world into being now whispers through your imagination, and what you feel, what you speak, what you believe becomes the world you live in. This is not fantasy. This is divine science. The quantum field responds to the observer. Consciousness collapses potential into form. Scripture said it long before science proved it. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Proverbs 23:7. So think these truths deeply. Speak them boldly. Feel them completely. Do not rush them. Do not say them mindlessly. Let each word become a pulse, a vibration, a sacred sound that reshapes your inner world. And every morning that you rise and declare these 5 lines, you are not simply preparing for another day, you are recreating yourself in the image of God. You are choosing to live from the Spirit, not the shadow. You are turning the invisible into the inevitable. Eventually, these 5 lines will no longer belong to your morning alone. They will become the rhythm of your being. You will speak them not only with your words, but with your presence. You will become the sermon without preaching, the testimony without trying. People will sense something divine about you. They will say, "There's peace in their eyes, there's strength in their voice, there's light in their silence." And you will know why, because each dawn before the world awoke, you spoke with heaven, and heaven answered not from above, but from within. So keep speaking until the voice that utters these words no longer feels separate from the truth they declare. Keep speaking until every breath carries their vibration. Keep speaking until the 5 lines become your 5 foundations, your 5 pillars of creation. And when that day comes, when the morning sun rises, and you no longer say them, but are them, you will understand what Jesus meant when he said, The words that I speak unto you, they are spirit and they are life. John 6:63. For your words too will have become life not spoken into existence, but lived as existence. And that, beloved, is the real miracle. Not that you speak the words, but that the words become you. So tomorrow and every morning after, rise and speak these lines again. Speak them with calm certainty, not as hope, but as truth. Speak them as God spoke light once, perfectly and forever true. And as you do, creation will listen. The wind will listen. The atoms of the universe will listen. Because every time you speak as one with God, creation remembers the sound of its source. Say them, feel them, live them, and watch the impossible become inevitable. You will have spoken 5 simple lines and rewritten your entire life. And when that transformation becomes your way of being, you will begin to understand why all of creation was called good. Not because it was easy, not because it was free from trial, but because it was born from divine intention. You too were born from that same intention. You are the Word made flesh, the thought of God made visible. Your breath is His breath. Your imagination is His imagination. When you speak from faith, heaven and earth move as one. When you speak from love, creation leans in to listen. So do not rush through your mornings anymore. They are not interruptions to life. They are where life begins. Before the noise of the world can shape you, you shape the world through your words. Each dawn is your new Genesis, a fresh creation spoken into being by the consciousness of God within you. You are not merely trying to become better. You are remembering that you already are divine. Every morning is your resurrection, the rising of the true self from the sleep of forgetfulness. When you open your eyes, do not see an ordinary day, see sacred opportunity. The same power that made galaxies swirl and oceans part is now ready to manifest through you as you. The same light that God called forth on the first day burns behind your eyes. You are not separate from creation. You are creation continuing itself. And every word you speak, every feeling you hold, every image you entertain adds to the tapestry of existence. That is why the ancients said, "Let the weak say, I am strong," Joel 3:10. Because the spoken word, infused with faith, becomes law in the unseen. Every morning, when you speak your 5 lines, remember this. You are not talking to a universe outside of you. You are instructing your own consciousness. The outer world is just the echo of that instruction. What you decree within yourself is mirrored back in form. If you awaken anxiety, speak peace until peace becomes the only sound in your spirit. If you awaken lack, declare abundance until your consciousness no longer entertains the idea of scarcity. If you awaken doubt, speak faith until the very cells of your body vibrate with knowing. Do not underestimate the quiet consistency of faith. What you repeat in the silence of morning becomes the architecture of your destiny. Repetition is not vain when it is done in awareness. It is the sculptor's hand shaping reality through word and feeling. Your words are alive. They are seeds in the soil of consciousness, and the morning is their springtime. The dew of early thought waters them. The warmth of emotion brings them to life, and the faith of silence roots them deep. By nightfall, their vibration is already weaving the circumstances of your tomorrow. Soon, you will notice how little you need to speak of problems. You will no longer need to defend yourself to others or explain your vision. The energy of those 5 lines will speak for you. They will become your aura, your silent signature of alignment with divine order. When you walk into a room, the atmosphere will shift. People will sense calm where chaos once lived. Opportunities will come because your frequency will match their possibility. You will not have to chase, you will magnetize. This is not arrogance. This is divine identity. You are not greater than anyone. You are simply awake to the truth that everyone has forgotten. You know that all are one in God, that all power rests in consciousness, and that every manifestation is an act of remembrance. You begin to live differently. Your silence becomes prayer. Your movement becomes meditation. Your words become decrees. You no longer speak carelessly, for you know that each syllable is a vibration sent into eternity. You begin to speak only when inspired, and when you do, your words carry creative force. You do not speak to fill silence. You speak to shape reality. You speak as Christ spoke, from authority, from love, from perfect knowing. Each morning, when you stand before the mirror and speak those 5 lines, see not your reflection in glass, but your reflection in consciousness. You are speaking directly to the divine image within. You are saying, awaken. And the moment you say it, heaven stirs. You will come to understand why Neville Goddard said, feeling is the secret. For it is not the repetition of words that changes reality. It is the feeling that those words evoke. When you feel one with your declaration, creation cannot resist. So as you speak them, do not rush. Let each word rise from your chest like light from the dawn. Feel them not as something you are reaching for, but as something you already are. Feel them in your bones, in your breath, in your stillness. When you say, I am one with God, feel the infinite behind your eyes. When you say, everything I desire is already mine, feel the completion of the prayer. When you say, I am guided, guarded, and supplied, feel the safety of divine order wrapping you like sunlight. When you say, I radiate love, peace, and power, feel the energy flow through your heart like living water. When you say, I walk today as my higher self, feel heaven taking a step with you. You are not commanding a distant power, you are reminding yourself of the power you already hold. You are not summoning miracles, you are allowing them. You are not waiting for heaven, you are revealing it. And as days turn into weeks, something profound happens. You begin to speak less and believe more. You begin to plan less and trust more. You begin to ask less and receive more. Your life becomes seamless, an effortless rhythm of giving and receiving, sowing and reaping, speaking and being. You realize that every breath you take is already a prayer answered. And when the world tests your faith, when appearances seem to contradict your inner vision, you will not waver. You will remember that the world is only a mirror, and mirrors cannot resist the image they reflect. You will not fight the reflection. You will change the image. The 5 lines will guide you even then. They will rise unbidden to your awareness, anchoring you in truth when the illusion of fear tries to return. They will remind you that creation obeys the inner command, not the outer condition. And when you live this way, steadfast, surrendered, awake, you will find that your mornings become holy ground. You will wake not to a world that happens to you, but to a world that unfolds through you. Every sunrise will feel like God whispering again, let there be light. And this time the light will be shining through you. So tonight, as you rest, remember this. Your first words tomorrow will shape the day that follows. The universe is always listening, not to your requests, but to your certainty. When you rise, rise in stillness. Let the morning air remind you of eternity. Then speak slowly, deliberately, faithfully. I am one with God, and God is one with me. Everything I desire is already mine in consciousness. I am guided, guarded, and supplied by divine intelligence. I radiate love, peace, and power wherever I go. I walk today as my highest self, calm, confident, and complete. Then be silent. Let those words settle into the depths of your being. Feel them take root, and from that stillness, move into your day like one who already knows how the story ends. Because it is already written, it is already done. Creation awaits your command, and heaven is ready to obey your belief. Speak life, speak truth, speak as one with God, and then watch the world answer back in your image. And now, as the light of a new day breaks across the horizon of your awareness, let these 5 lines no longer feel like words, let them feel like breath. Let them live in you, move through you, and become the rhythm of your soul. You do not need to remember every syllable, for their essence is now written into your spirit. Every time your heart beats, it speaks them in silence. Every time you breathe, the universe hears your declaration of truth. I am one with God. There is nothing more to seek. There is nothing more to prove. You have already arrived at the center of what you have always been. You stand now as a vessel of divine awareness, grounded in peace, overflowing with love, radiant with creative power. You no longer chase blessing. You recognize that they were always flowing toward you, waiting for you to be still enough to receive. This is the great unveiling, not the becoming of something new, but the remembering of something eternal. Each morning, when you wake and speak your 5 lines, you are not adding light to the world. You are uncovering the light that was hidden beneath forgetfulness. You are saying to the spirit within, awaken, shine again. And shine you shall not through effort, but through presence. Not through striving, but through surrender. Not through words shouted into the sky, but through the quiet certainty that knows heaven is within. You have discovered the secret of creation. That imagination, belief, and feeling are the holy trinity of manifestation. When they move in harmony, nothing can be withheld. So as you move through the days ahead, let your life itself become the prayer. Let your kindness be your testimony. Let your peace be your proof. Let your success be the echo of your alignment with divine law. You no longer need to force reality into shape. You need only to hold the image of wholeness, to feel it as done, and to walk in gratitude as though it already exists, because it does. The world will see the glow in your eyes and wonder what changed. They will sense the serenity in your voice, the certainty in your steps, the compassion in your presence. They will feel something eternal moving through you, and they will not know that it began with 5 simple lines spoken at dawn. They will not hear the words, but they will see their power. They will see a life transformed by inner speech, a heart anchored in divine remembrance. And you will know, without pride, but with quiet reverence, that what you spoke each morning was not a ritual, it was resurrection. So let this be your vow, to rise in gratitude, to speak from awareness, to live as one with the infinite, to let every morning be a new creation, and every word be light, because now you understand your tongue does not merely describe the world, it commands it. Your imagination is not fantasy, it is creation. Your feeling is not weakness, it is the power of God moving through human form. So speak, beloved, speak with grace, speak with faith, speak with the quiet authority of one who knows that heaven is listening from within. And when you have spoken, when your 5 lines have been released into the stillness of morning, go forth in peace. Walk gently, but walk boldly. Let your life become the echo of those divine words. For the universe is always listening, and it recognizes the voice of its creator when that voice is yours. Now go, and let every dawn remind you. You are one with God. You are complete in consciousness. You are guided by love, supplied by spirit, and protected by peace. You radiate life itself, and wherever you walk, heaven walks too. Be still, believer, speak, and watch as the world bends beautifully to your inner word. It is done because it was always so, and now it is remembered.